demolition waste. To begin, I invite Ms. Rupa Mishra, Joint Secretary and Mission Director, Swachh Bharat Mission Urban, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, to deliver the welcome address and set the context for the session.
Good morning, everyone. I welcome the esteemed speakers and all delegates of session 6. This is 2 hours of the 30 hours that are getting invested into the first National Urban Conclave being hosted by the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. Yesterday, we saw a couple of aspects, and I'm going to place those as pointers to set the context for this session today. Number one, urban is not just a generic subject. Urban is becoming a highly technical aspect which pertains to a geographical area with the intersectional linkages of multitude of sectors. Second, where in India today we are about a 35 to 40 crores. In a couple of years, by the time India is 100, urban will be exactly double. 80 crores around, more than the population of combined nations together. Number three, given this space, we have to see that we have a future ready workforce, processes, systems that will deliver the required kind of service that is required for urban India. For that, the call to action by Honorable Cabinet Minister yesterday was to create Team Urban as in a fraternity comprising of not just policy practitioners, but also industry, civil society, experts, startups, researchers, incubators, and everybody who can possibly join force for Team Urban. Next, we saw the launch of a lethal triad yesterday. I say lethal very consciously because we strongly feel that the 3 things that were rolled out yesterday could be game changers. The first, an accelerator program for dump site remediation. Now, somebody could say it's just dump site remediation. You've been doing it for years. What's the big deal? The big deal about it are 3 things. First, India is saying no to landfills. Second, the term accelerator itself brings it the sense of urgency. And third, with that, we have brought in a couple of P's. There were 4 P. The master of the 4 P's is sitting right here in front of me. He'll be speaking in a while. Swachh Bharat Phase 1 was marked by a 4P underlying ethos that marked its success: political leadership, public finance, partnership, and people. With that, given the technicality of the subject that we are dealing, to this accelerator, we introduce the 5th P, which is project management. So, with this tried and tested 4P of SBM1, SBM2 in its accelerator program brings in the 5P. And with these 3 aspects, we are hoping to see an absolute intensified focus on the common first shared vision, which is no landfills. Where I said lethal triad, the second thing that we rolled out yesterday was you need finances. Yesterday, we rolled out the Urban Invest window. It is calculated that given India's urban growth, over the next decade, India will need an urban investment of around 75 to 80 lakh crores. 75 to 80 lakh crores. 2 questions come with it. From where will this funds come? Second, even if this fund is available, do we even have the capacity to absorb it? Therefore, we rolled out the Urban Invest window under the aegis of HUDCO, wherein the HUDCO arms will act as single window facilitation for all states and ULBs to reach out. And we are in fact saying that think urban, think HUDCO. You want to understand what is the kind of plan you need? Think HUDCO. You want to conceptualize what kind of projects will be best designed to be economically feasible and well as operably sustainable? Think HUDCO. Think UN. So we're bringing in a bracket of strong finances wherein the UNs will bring in the finance that is required to propel the sector. Of the triad, the third one that we introduced yesterday was the Swachh Bharat Mission Knowledge Management Unit. When I was in my initial remarks, I said that Manohar Lalji yesterday mentioned that we need to be workforce ready, future ready. So, for that, it is very important that the subjects that we are talking about circularity, closing the loop, scientific management, legacy dump site, waste to gas, waste to electricity, recycling hub, plastic to pellets, etc., standards, technical aspects, we are dealing with a man force that was typically a man force that was taking care of cleanliness, conservancy, vector control. We have in various places medical officers who are in charge of the entire waste management. We have sanitary inspectors and supervisors who are in charge of this element. So, how do we create a skill force that will deliver not just visible cleanliness, access to sanitation, but a super technical subject like waste management? For that, we've brought together the Knowledge Management Unit under the aegis of National Institute of Urban Affairs that's going to create this pool of technically competent and possibly work on competency based work and other aspects that is very essential to this sector. So, given this background of urbanization, the investment requirements, the requirement of the work that is done, the kind of elements that were brought in, here is a sector which is extremely important because this is not just about resource recovery and waste and wages and emissions, etc., but it starts from the very, very important aspect of visible cleanliness of how citizens feel when they step out of their homes, when they look at the city, the pride that they feel. And here, the last thing that I will say before I leave it out to my esteemed speakers is what started as a journey of access 10 years back, when Honorable Prime Minister gave the call to action for a clean India, for a ODF India, a silent revolution started in cities. And that was access to daily collection of waste from doorsteps. Silently, painstakingly, our states and cities worked on creating a most complex and yet reliable system of everyday door to door collection because unless you collect your waste, it's not traceable. First 5 years, we worked on access. The next 5 years, which was 2.0, we set up the basic infrastructure. Somebody has done a compost, somebody has done a MRF, somebody has done a gas, somebody has done doing plastic to fuel. So be it. It is as per the capacity of the city and the value chain that they are kind of envisaging and delivering. So be it. But in phase two, we have created the foundation of waste management. This is now the cusp of the time when we are standing just about 1 year of culmination of 2.0 and about to embark on possibly, who knows, a tremendous 3.0 or whatever that name will be. But this is when we will turn the wheels from access, foundations of waste management to circularity, which will be truly the waste to resource or waste to wealth. And as we stand here, I see great relevance to come from this particular session. We have stitched the session beautifully where we are going to bring in the different elements primarily focused around municipal solid and liquid waste. With this, I invite my speakers to share their wisdom and experience with the delegates here. Looking forward to a great session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for setting the tone for today's session. I now invite Shri Bharat Kumar Sharma, Member Secretary, Central Pollution Control Board, to share his thoughts on From Waste to Wealth, Enabling Circular Transition in India.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Uh, I'll be talking about how circular economy is transforming the waste management in the country, and I'll try to focus on the solid waste management. Next, please. If we, okay, we all are aware that there are five aspects of circular economy. Prime objectives, thus environmentally sound recycling of the waste, followed by reduction in extraction of the virgin material, recovery of the resource material, and continuous recovery. That is, I would like to emphasize on that, and then transforming it into the valuable products. Nevertheless, the other objective aspect of the circular economy is to create the green jobs as well. Now, to have this circular economy, India is working on market-based extended producer responsibility framework, and this framework addresses very well the prime aspects of the circular economy in the country. Now, going back to the EPR concept, the EPR concept was there in the country well before some 15 years or 10 years back. But this has been transformed into the very reliable system based platform where the notifications of various EPR framework relating to the various waste management since 2022. These are the four EPR platforms which are already operating in the country. And fifth one is the used oil, which we have launched. And now it is at initial stage. If you look at these four data on these four EPR frameworks, which are operational in the country, you can see that some 300 lakh metric ton of waste which have been recycled by the various around 4,000 recyclers. And against that, there are around 70,000 producers who have been assigned the EPR target based on their products which are being sold in the market, introduced in the market. So against that 300 which we have recycled and the target which we have assigned online on the platform around 300. So almost 80% of the EPR certificates have already been purchased by the producers. So this gives a sense of uh, moving forward that yes, as a country, the EPR framework have been implemented, number one. Number two, it has been accepted well, not only by the recyclers, but by the producers also. Now, coming back to the core subject about the solid and liquid waste, the MOHUA report of 2022, 2021 already outlines the economy involved in the circular economy, somewhere around 24,000 crores, dividing it into the solid waste and liquid waste. Coming to the regulatory framework with respect to the EPR in the solid and liquid waste, we have already notified the C&D waste, construction and demolition waste, which is effective from April 2025. And then after that, there is another EPR framework that is on non-ferrous metal products. And three drafts have already been notified by the ministry about the solid waste management in 2024 and liquid waste management 2024. And then packaging made from paper, glass, and metal and sanitary products. So these three are under the draft stage, which were published. Now the ministry is working on that to give a final shape of this final notification, EPR notification on these three aspects. Now, construction and demolition waste, it talks about who are the persons responsible for meeting its EPR obligations. This has been notified already. We are going to implement with effect from 1st April 2026. And the key stakeholders involved are not only the producers and recyclers, but operator of the intermediate waste storage facility, collection point also, so that we want to track not only the generation but its movement also. And all these things are being tracked through the online portal developed by the CPCB. Now, it's not only the recycling, but all the EPR framework, whether it is electronic waste, whether it is solid waste, whether it is liquid waste, it does talk about the reuse of the recycled product also, whether it is treated wastewater, whether it is recycled C&D waste, whatever the material is derived. So that target is also being given to the various concerned stakeholders. Say in case of C&D, it is the road construction agency. They will have to use up to 5 to 25% by 2023, sorry, 2030. That 25% of the recovered material which have been recovered from the recycling of C&D waste, that needs to be put into the construction projects. So these are the few important highlights. And in case there is a provision also that in case somebody doesn't meet the EPR obligations or the recyclers who generate false EPR certificate, for that also there is a provision of environmental compensation. Now coming to the solid waste, uh, this is a report which has been compiled as received in the form of annual reports from the various state pollution control board. There is some 17% gap still. But if you look at the trend, we have moved from 2017, where there were hardly 40% of the waste being processed. Now we have moved to the 60%, but still there is a long way to go. And similarly, if we look at the landfill trend, that has also decreased over the years. Now, in order to bridge this gap and to move in as per the recommendations of the MOHUA 2021 report, taking that also into account, the ministry has come out with the draft regulations. It does talk about the dry waste, wet waste, special care waste, sanitary waste, and special emphasis is on extended bulk waste generator responsibility. So all bulk waste generator which has more than 20,000 square meter or generates 100 kg of solid waste or generates more than 5 KLD, they have been categorized as the bulk waste generator in the draft notification, and they are required to set up the on-site processing facilities for the various waste being generated by them. And they will be given some obligations also so as to recover that. And in case they are not able to meet it, then they will be buying the EPR certificates from the facilities who will be authorized to generate the EPR certificates once they process the solid waste. And this centralized online portal will be developed by CPCB, wherein all these stakeholders, whether it is the bulk waste generator or whether it is the facility operator, processing facility operator, they are required to register, and that is how the EPR exchange generation and exchange will happen through the portal. Now coming to the liquid waste also, we have some good examples. More than some 11 or 15 cities are there, success stories are there where the power plant or or some other entities are already using the treated wastewater from the municipal corporation, from the sewage, and those treated wastewater are being used by the thermal power plants or for the purpose of irrigation. And in turn, the municipal corporations are generating revenues. So that model we already have in place, success stories. In line with that, this draft liquid waste management rules also envisage towards the EPR obligation framework in the liquid waste management also. So here also again, two type of targets are being set. One is the treatment, of course, and the second one is the use of the treated wastewater. So those two targets will be given to the respective entities, and in case they are not able to meet that, they will be given this liberty also to buy that, and the concerned stakeholders, entities who will be generating these things, that those things have also been well defined under this draft EPR framework. Now, it not only talks about the liquid waste, it regulates and outlines the various provisions with regard to the sludge management, the online mechanized desludging. And this again, the portal will be operated by CPCB, and again, the provision of environmental compensations have been laid on there. So what we can say is that we have learnings of EPR framework, implementations, its operations, its acceptance. Now we are moving towards implementation of this framework in the liquid waste and solid waste also, and ministry is working on that, and very soon we might have these final notified regulations on these also. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable insights. Next, we move to the international perspective. Joining us virtually is Dr. Olga Rataj, Industrial Development Officer, UNIDO, who will speak on circular economy as climate and resource imperative, global trends, and India's opportunity. Over to you, Dr. Olga.
Many thanks. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not sure if I should share the presentation from my end because I cannot see your screen.
We have put your presentation.
Okay,
It's on the screen.
okay, thank you very much. So, dear ladies and gentlemen, we are living through a moment of a major global transformation. The way we produce, consume, and grow is changing, and the cities are at the heart of it. Especially in emerging and developing economies, cities are where climate action meets opportunity. Because decarbonizing cities, it's not just about cutting emissions, it's about building the industries of the future. Circularity is not a climate imperative per se, it's an economic and industrial development strategy, one that creates markets, new jobs, that reduces risks and strengthens local economies. And it's not just about solar rooftops or electric buses. It's about transforming the urban industrial systems that power our everyday life. How we make cement, steel, textiles, food, how we move goods, how we manage waste, and how we design our technologies. And to get there, we need to connect urban planning, climate action, industrial strategy, not as separate agendas, but as one integrated vision. And this is at the center of the vision in the circular economy. Circular economy is not just a recycling campaign. It's a new logic of development. It's about designing out waste, keeping materials in use, creating new value from what we already have. And almost half of the global emissions come not from energy, but actually from how we make and use our materials. We can move to the next slide. Circularity is therefore not just good for our planet, it's also essential for our competitiveness. And when industries loop resources, cities grow cleaner, smarter, and also more resilient. And this is how we align economic growth with climate ambition. And when we talk about circular cities, Amsterdam very often comes up. And this is for a reason, for a good reason. It's one of the first cities in the world to treat circularity not as... Hello, can you hear me? So Amsterdam is the first city in the world to treat circularity not as a project, but as a system-wide strategy. Amsterdam's approach is policy-driven and it's also integrated. It connects housing, construction, food, procurement, all under one circular vision. And what is the goal? The goal is full circularity by 2050. And the city of Amsterdam turns entire neighborhoods into living labs, testing modular buildings, water reuse systems, local resource recovery. The city even changed the way it is governed, and it adopted the donut economics framework to guide the planning and investment decisions. And I will talk about the framework in a while. And the question for Amsterdam is not just how do we grow, it's rather how do we thrive within the planetary limits that we have. And here in Amsterdam, the private sector plays a huge role. So Amsterdam actively incubates circular startups, such as, for example, Fairphone. And you might ask, what does it matter for India, actually? And I think it matters a lot because across all of the cities globally, the same principles apply to make them circular. So for Indian cities, it might mean to learn how to integrate circular economy thinking into public procurement, urban planning and zoning, how to pilot entire circular districts, and how to turn cities into engines of innovation, but also resilience. And when we look at Amsterdam's model, we might also ask, what is actually driving it? It's not just policy or innovation. It's a mindset. It's a new way of defining prosperity. And here I would like to turn to the donut economics framework that you can see on the screen. The framework was created by Kate Raworth, and it's a very simple, but at the same time, a very radical idea. The idea is that the goal of the economy should be to make sure that everyone thrives without pushing the planet beyond its limits. So you can imagine a donut. The inner ring represents the social foundation. So the basics that every person deserves, which is food, water, housing, health, education, equality. And the outer ring is the ecological ceiling. So the boundaries that we must not cross, such as climate change, pollution, biodiversity loss, and resource depletion. And between these two rings, there is a safe and just space for humanity, a space where people and planet can thrive together. And this is the shift from asking how much the economy grows to asking whether the growth helps us live well within our means. Now, for India, this framework couldn't be more relevant. India is a young, fast-growing country with incredible talent, but also huge social needs and rising environmental pressures. And the donut gives us a compass to grow our industries, our cities, and our economy in a way that's both inclusive and sustainable. And now let's move to Latin America, to Bogota, Colombia. So if Amsterdam shows us how circularity can be driven by policy and innovation, Bogota shows us how it can be driven by inclusion and resilience. Bogota's circular economy strategy runs until 2030, and it's remarkable for one reason. It does not start with big corporations or advanced infrastructure. It starts with people, with the informal sector, small businesses, waste pickers, who already keep the city running. The strategy focuses on three powerful areas, which is reusing construction materials, then industrial symbiosis, where one industry's waste becomes another's resource, and thirdly, organic waste valorization, taking waste into energy or compost. It is very practical, it's very grounded, and it works within the real constraints, financial, institutional, and social constraints. Because Bogota operates under conditions very similar to ours here in India, which are rapid urbanization, informality, resource stress, and ambitious social goals, Bogota can share some lessons, in particular about formalizing the informal sector, building city-level circular economy hubs to support entrepreneurs, and strengthening public-private partnerships in waste and construction, sectors that are massive job creators in our own Indian cities. So Latin American cities show that circularity doesn't need perfect systems to start. It needs purpose, collaboration, and trust. And that's a lesson India can absolutely lead with. So what do Amsterdam and Bogota teach us? They teach us that circularity is not a single model. It's a mindset that can take root anywhere in different ways under different conditions. Amsterdam shows us how policy, governance, and business can align for systemic change. Bogota, in turn, shows us how inclusion and informality can become engines of innovation. And this brings us back to India, because we stand right between these two worlds. We understand the realities of Bogota, and we have the ambition and scale of Amsterdam. I think that India is best placed to lead the South-South and North-South partnerships through circular economy knowledge sharing. India can also build meaningful city-to-city collaborations. For example, imagine Chennai and Bogota exchanging lessons on waste valorization, or Pune and Amsterdam co-developing circular construction pilots. We can also enable technology transfer from decentralized waste to resource systems, to sludge valorization, secondary material markets. And for that, I also encourage Indian cities to use multilateral platforms, working with partners such as UNIDO to scale impact and technical assistance. Circular economy is not just about closing loops. It's about opening connections between cities, industries, and also, most importantly, between people. We are living through one of the biggest realignments in human history. Economies globally are shifting, populations are growing and moving, technology is accelerating, and the planet is pushing back. In all this turbulence, one thing is clear: the cities are rising. They are becoming new engines of climate action and economic power. And I would like to leave you with one final statement for reflection. So the cities that learn how to close the loops will be the ones that truly can open the sustainable future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Rataj. I thank you so much for joining at 5 o'clock a.m. from Vienna, especially for this. So a huge round of applause for her, please. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
We now move into the next segment on policy and implementation models that are paving the way for circularity in waste management. I invite Mr. Kevin Houston, Executive Chairman and co-founder, Carbon Masters India, to speak on opportunities in organic waste management in India.
Well, good morning, everybody. It's a real pleasure to be here. I'm going to talk to you this morning, when the slide comes up, about the opportunities in organic waste management. So I've been in India for about 10 years, working on the biomethane business, focusing on the organic fraction of the municipal solid waste stream, and turning that into valuable products. But I think the opportunity that urban local bodies have is that you can contribute to solving three major problems that all cities in the world are facing, but they're increasingly important here in India. The first you're all familiar with is the problem of waste. Now, there are lots of numbers bandied about. You've heard some that India's generating about 1.7 lakhs worth of municipal solid waste a year. UNEP published a report just last year saying India's generating about 79 million tons just of food waste. Regardless of which number is correct, the issue is they're both large and they're growing. And if that food waste, which it's ending up either in a landfill, good to hear that that's declining, or it's going for composting, will release methane, which is a toxic greenhouse gas. So that's a major problem. Plus the fact we're in a world where we've got to get off of fossil fuels because of the climate impact that it's having. And India's in a particularly vulnerable position insofar as it's bringing in nearly 89% of its oil, 50% of its gas, and 35% of its chemical fertilizers. And in the world today, where you have no control over that price, that's not the place to be. So you must start, and you are doing, about getting off fossil fuels. But I actually think there's an even bigger issue, and that is the state of soil carbon in your agricultural soils. They've been declining rapidly. You live between the tropics, your temperatures burn a lot of the carbon out of the soil, and you spent the last 40 years chucking an inordinate amount of chemical fertilizers and pesticides into that soil, which is eroding it, where it's reached a level now of 0.3%. Scientists predict that if you don't solve that within at least 2 decades, you won't be able to grow anything. The good news is I really believe there's a solution for that, and it's biomethanization, where that waste that you're generating, either from the rural areas or indeed what we're talking about today, how it's generated in urban areas, can be converted by biogas, raw biogas, which can now with technologies be purified of its impurities to produce biomethane gas or something comparable to natural gas, as well as a nutrient-rich fertilizer. Now, we got into this business some 10 years ago, well before SATAT, where we bottle that CBG and we sell it to restaurants and hotels to displace LPG. So that biomethane molecule, that carbon neutral molecule, can decarbonize your transport sector, which is now starting to happen under the SATAT. It can decarbonize the hotel and industry use of LPG, and it can also provide a replacement for diesel in backup diesel generator sets. Plus the digestate, the nutrient-rich digestate, can put the much-needed carbon and other nutrients back in the soil. So I truly believe that this is a transformational solution for India, because you are blessed with an inordinate supply of the very organic waste material needed to create that energy, and you need to get off fossil fuels, and you need to replace the carbon in the soil. The issue today is, though, less than 2% of the municipal solid waste stream is currently going for biomethanization. And the government announced the plan in 2018 under the SATAT program to really put a big push behind the production of CBG. Unfortunately, progress on that has been somewhat slow. And I think there are some fundamental issues that will need to get addressed if we're not to make this the transformative solution that I believe it can be. Now, these are not easy. There is, in fact, a Gordian knot of a problem here, insofar as the CNG producer price is currently pegged to the price of CNG. Nothing wrong with that. Other than that, the CNG price in this country is tied to your subsidized urea price. So if you look at, from an energy perspective, what CPG producers are getting today, it's about $17 per MMBTU. So a BTU, British thermal unit, the amount of energy required to raise 1 pound of water 1 degree C. If you look what's happened in Poland just recently, they were, of course, buying a lot of Russian gas. They had to end that. So they're now buying all their gas from Norway, and also from America with LNG. They've announced a program whereby they're giving a $37 to $40 per MMBTU price. And look what's happened. Since then, they've got 250 CBG projects that are going to pump gas straight into their pipeline. That compares to the 120 that India's achieved since the announcement of the SATAT program. But the elephant in the room here is the level of the urea subsidy, because unless this begins to be addressed, and I know how difficult a political issue that is in this country, but unless we can find a way of reducing that subsidy, it has an inordinate effect on the price playing field in comparison to organic fertilizers. And India will need to generate a significant amount of organic fertilizers as well as other regenerative agricultural methods, if it's going to solve that soil carbon issue. And at the moment, there's a lack of an incentive to do that. Coming now to within urban local bodies, looking at the UK experience of what they've done to manage food waste. Some 30 years ago, they introduced a landfill tax. Okay, the polluter pays principle. The interesting thing with that is that they've increased it every single year. It was introduced at £7 a tonne. That's about 800 rupees at today's exchange rate. Today, it's £126, i.e. 14,000 rupees per tonne you pay if you put a tonne of food waste into a landfill. Now, that's reduced the mixed waste to landfill by 90%. And if you just look at the years 2019 to 23, there was a significant drop in the amount of MSU going to landfill. What you also saw is a concomitant rise in the number of anaerobic digestion plants to handle that. They've gone one step further. They're now from March of next year, every household in England will get provided with 2 bins, one for the kitchen, one for outside the house. And every urban local body must provide an additional weekly service to pick that food waste up and take it to an AD plant. By that programme, they're looking to reduce another 2 or 3 million tonnes of waste going to landfill and turning that into clean energy and organic fertiliser. In India now, I think there is something we can do in relation to the solid waste management rules. I think there's a bit of a bias in those rules to do composting, particularly for bulk waste generators. And I say there's a bias because for most bulk waste generators, doing biomethanization is not an option. You need a sufficient amount of the waste in the first place to pay out the capital required. So by definition, they'll default to composting. So the result, as we've seen, is a lack of installed CBG and organic fertilizer capacity. What we really need is we need to start scaling up that CBG infrastructure. The good news is, because of the opportunities that this provides with the offtake of both gas and fertilizer, by tendering it, you will find that the private sector will come in and invest in these projects, providing you can provide the land and the separated organic waste. That capacity can get built. I think there should be some way of discouraging bulk waste generators, which constitute some 50 or 60% of the food waste generated in a city is with bulk waste generators. The innovation in the 2016 rules was they identified those as a group. They should be encouraged to provide their separated organic waste to authorised vendors who should bring it to a CBG plant. So I think if we were to take those simple steps, we can see a much accelerated pace of large-scale CBG plants in urban local authorities. And the benefits are significant. It is a superior resource recovery solution. It's very much a circular economy one. It produces a carbon-neutral fuel. That digestate can put the necessary carbon back into the soil. It creates jobs. It will reduce the pressure on landfill. Just from a CO2 point of view, 100 CPD plant, which the ministry has recommended in its recent very, very useful document on CBG and MSW, that cities should come together and do tenders for at least 100 TPD plant. 100 TPD waste plant would save about 40,000 tonnes of CO2 a year. Now, at a carbon credit price today of about $3, that's about $120,000 a year. But I see the carbon price rising to such an extent that that could be very much more valuable. But as I said at the beginning, biomethanization provides a strategic way of not only solving your waste problem, also solving your dependence on foreign fossil fuels, but also can be a significant benefit to putting carbon back in the soil. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, sir. I warmly welcome Shri Arvind Kumar Sharma, Honorable Minister of Urban Development, Government of Uttar Pradesh, as the chair for today's session. and Shri Bhoj Raj Raiji, Honorable Minister of Urban Development, Government of Sikkim, as our co-chair for today's session. A huge round of applause for them, please. Thank you. Thank you so much. Next, I invite Shri Sanjeev Kumar, Additional Director General, Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, to deliver his address on landfill to roadways, diverting inerts.
Slide move हो जाएगी. Good morning, everyone. I'll be talking about uh, the role that our Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, is playing for reduction of carbon footprint, and how waste material that is being generated in big cities, especially the solid waste that we are using for construction of our national highways network. As we all know, in the last couple of decades, great emphasis has been given by the government for development of infrastructure in the country. If I talk about the national highways, which is about 2.3% of the entire road network in the country, every year we are constructing more than 10,000 kilometers of national highways. It requires huge quantities of natural resources, aggregate, sand, soil, and we are finding uh, at various projects difficulty in arranging these natural material, especially the soils. Cost is also increasing with the use of these conventional material for our national highway construction. On the other hand, we have a challenge of disposal of management of the waste. Huge quantities of waste are being generated in the cities, the metropolitan cities. So it's a challenge before all of us how this waste we can utilize for creation, for development of our infrastructure in the country. I think if we can use it, it will be a win-win situation for all infrastructure agencies, and for the local bodies, and especially for the societies. Uh, if we will be using these waste material, uh, will be reducing the cost of construction. At the same time, huge uh, job creation, jobs will be created in our country. We know that we have a set target of achieving a net zero carbon emission by 2070, and our ministries is also playing a critical role. We have introduced various alternative fuels uh, like ethylene, hydrogen gas, electric vehicles, etc. It will significantly reduce the carbon footprint in our country. Uh, as far as road transport contribution towards carbon emission is there, it's about 93% in our country, and about 14% are during constructions, and rest is during logistics and operations. As far as construction, national highway constructions are concerned, we are giving great emphasis for reduction of carbon footprint. We are now doing planning by carrying out OD surveys, origin and destination surveys. We are constructing large length of expressways, access control highways in our country, which will improve the mobility. At the same time, our logistic costs would also be reduced significantly. Besides, wherever our capacity of the highways have exhausted, we are going for capacity augmentation also. And we are addressing environmental issues by carrying out environmental impact assessment and taking all sort of environmental mitigation measures. We have introduced various new technologies also, which are very effective in reduction of carbon footprint. Uh, uh, these are mentioned in this slide. Soil stabilization we are doing, and with soil stabilization we have seen the requirement of aggregate gets reduced substantially. Besides, we are using reclaimed asphalt. Recycling we are doing, I think, in urban roads also. This can be used so that our dependency on natural aggregate, bitumen, etc., can be reduced. Plastic also we are using in our bituminous, and we have seen the performance of the bituminous layer have increased with the use of plastic. This solid waste, we have taken up two projects, pilot projects on national highways, and already 37 lakh ton of uh, inert material that we have got from the solid waste we have used for development of expressway in our country. Besides, we are using slag also, and as I mentioned, plastic waste also we are using in our wearing coat, and about 3,600 kilometer of road we have constructed with use of uh, mm, plastic waste. As far as solid waste are concerned, uh, about 28 lakh ton of inert material from the solid waste we have used in UER2 and DND Sona, DME Spur, and 9 lakh ton we have used in Ahmedabad Vadodara Express. After getting the feedback from these projects, now we have issued the guidelines in September 2024 for use of solid waste for construction of our national highways. We know our policy basically it is in compliance with the solid waste management rules and the guidelines issued by the honorable NGTs and Ministry of Environment guidelines. And we have specified the methodology how this solid waste is to be used for construction of our highways, our national highways. Now, uh, we are basically mapping all the uh, dump site that is available nearby the project site in the DPR stage also, and uh, will request all the local authorities, local urban authorities, that they should interact with our local offices wherever we are taking up new projects, especially the expressway projects, where a large quantity of earthwork is required. We can have a MOU with them, and we can make it mandatory in our contract agreement that this solid waste would be used for embankment construction. Uh, MoHUA has already appointed a nodal officer. I think state government can also appoint. We can interact with them. And uh, there are basically 15 top landfill sites in the country, uh, which are generating about 58% of the solid waste. So we have worked out the quantities in these 15 top landfill sites, about 277 lakh ton of inert material we can get, and this can be used for development of our national highway projects. Already 12 projects we have identified. One project I'll be discussing about the Bangalore satellite ring road, where these waste material can be extensively used. Uh, these are the dump sites. And as I mentioned, on two pilot projects, one in Delhi and another in Gujarat, we have successfully used the inert material that we are getting from the uh, dump site. Only thing is, these local agencies, they will have to come forward. They will have to have a separation mechanism. They will have to have a processing unit so that the inert material can be separated out, and these can be used for our embankment construction. This is a Bangalore satellite town ring road, 144 kilometer, and there are 5 packages, and out of these 5 packages, in 3 packages we have seen 3 top uh, landfill sites are available, which are in the vicinity of 15 kilometer, and we intend this solid material we will be using for this uh, construction of ring road. But again, I will request that the local authority should come forward. They should have an MOU with the ministry, with our contractor and concessionaire, and they should provide the necessary mechanism of its separation. Uh, this is basically the way out plan that will be having an MOU with the local bodies, and will make it mandatory for use in our contract agreement. And I once again request that you come forward, all local agencies, you interact with our local officers, with our local contractors, even during the DPR stage, so that we can make the adequate provision for use of this solid waste for our construction of our expressway and national highway. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your insights. We now welcome Shri Surjit Reddy, Executive Director, Dalmia Cements, to present on co-processing waste in cement kilns, a model for reducing carbon and land footprints.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. What I'll do is I will focus on the 50% of the waste. So India roughly generates about 200,000, 1.9 lakh tons of waste every year. Out of that, what I just put in is a simple demand and supply situation of waste. I'll focus on only the dry part of the waste. If I look at just the dry part of the waste, out of 70 million tons, roughly about 10 to 15 million tons will go into waste to energy. The waste to energy plants are already there. What is left is about 20, 21 million tons of RDF. India, if you look at the cement industry per se, we have about 650 million tons of capacity of cement, operating about 70% capacity utilization, translates to about 450 million tons of cement. One good advantage of India is cement is there everywhere. Today, even the extreme corners of Sikkim, for example, the entire waste of Sikkim comes to one of the cement plants. The entire waste of Arunachal Pradesh comes to a cement plant. So there is no area in India which actually does not have a cement presence. So to that extent, cement becomes a natural partner for the ULBs to dispose of their dry waste. Now, is the cement capacity enough? Just to look at it simply, about 25% thermal substitution or coal substitution leads to about 25 million tons of RDF, which is all that India generates. Now, I'll compare this and contrast this with, say, something like a Germany or a Portugal, where cement plants run at about 90% coal substitution levels. So, in that sense, in India, we'll always be left with shortage of RDF or shortage of MSW, rather than a situation in which the the municipalities are not able to find a disposer of cement in India. I think that's something that is very critical for us to understand. Now, if that is the case, why is that we always hear from ULBs that there's a challenge of disposal of waste? What do you do with the waste? Quality is not enough. To be honest, we today receive about 6,000 tons of RDF every day, and I have never faced an issue of quality from the any ULB. And I'm talking of extreme from Arunachal Pradesh to Goa to Kanyakumari, we receive waste from all across India. So quality is not an issue. The quality is simple, 2500 kilocal per kg, less than 25% moisture, less than 25% ash, which is what my today Indian generated waste is. And honestly, this is the same quality of waste that is in Germany. If we say waste in India is very bad compared to Germany, no, that's not the case. Even in Germany and Portugal, the waste qualities are broadly similar. So to that extent, co-processing is the right solution and is the simplest solution. Now, let me put it across why we struggle and where the struggle coming from. The struggle comes from a simple cost option. Today, if I look at it, for me, let me go back to Indian generated waste. We generate about 25, let me take a hypothetical number of 30 million tons of waste. 1500 rupees a ton is all that is required to dispose the dry waste. That translates to 3000 crores a year. As ma'am said, 75 lakh crores is budgeted for urban sustainability. We are talking of 3000 crores a year. I think that's a very, very small number for us to consider. What is missing is the focus. We are extremely focused on collection. We are extremely focused on everything. But what we are missing is the disposal. What we are missing is just the focus. There's nothing else required. The money is very small. The requirements are very small. Cement companies have all, I'm saying I'm representing the fourth largest cement company in India. Top three, all of them have invested close to 6,000 crores to take up all the waste. So for us, it is only a question of receiving waste is all that is needed. Let me, just this number per se, 3,000 crores translates to what? 35 rupees per person per year for disposal. I think that's something that we should definitely focus on, that something that we should ensure that we put in to ensure that we become a waste-free country. Just to give you an example, and I think this is something that I was quoting, Germany, the quality of waste is not very similar, but what is important is once the assurance from the ULBC is there, the waste is required, there are some investments that need to be made, be it the feeding capabilities, gas bypass systems, external combustors, oxygen enrichment. Those are the small investments that need to be made and fine-tuned for the cement companies to take the waste in India. One other aspect, if you look at the RDF, there are essentially two ways of disposing the RDF anywhere in the world. One is put it through waste energy system. Second is to put it into cement plants. Now let's compare and contrast these two. It's a very simple art. We are still a country with urbanization, but urbanization in tier 2, tier 3, close to 6,000 odd towns, and very, very few large towns. Now, if I look at waste to energy, the solution is for cities with greater than 600 tons per day kind of capacities. What happened to the rest? One, is it essential to even in the large towns I go for waste to energy? Absolutely not. Cement becomes again a very, very natural choice for multitude of reasons. One, because I think one critical aspect when unless the focus of the ULBs should be on the source segregation of waste, and that's something that's very critical for us to be able to dispose the waste. Waste to energy, on the other hand, needs no segregation. Waste as is can be disposed in the waste to energy. I think that's, but if I look at from the environmental point of view, putting the organics into an incinerator, burning the organics is actually harmful to the soil. So why do it? If I look at pollution, cement plants have no residue left. The inerts that come out of it, the ash that comes out of it, the burnt ash, fly ash, goes and mixed with cement, binds nicely, and come out as one product, which is cement, which has no residues left. On the other hand, waste to energy has 30 to 40% inerts, which again needs to be landfill. So this, as ma'am said, if we as a country need to look at zero landfills, again, waste to energy is not a solution. We need to look at cement, and with such a large capacity of cement in India, I think that becomes a very, very natural choice. Last is on the pollution. Unfortunately, we have heard enough of press on Okla, the dust on the houses around Okla waste to energy plant. We have heard of CPCB issuing notice to one of the KKR sponsored waste to energy plant in Hyderabad for chromium and cadmium. The challenge is manifold if you look at pollution in all three parameters: water, soil, and air. Again, cement avoids all the things because the material that comes out goes and embeds directly into the cement and leaves no residues. Again, this is something that is important to understand. Why then, if that is the case where waste to energy is not environmentally not very conducive, pollution wise it is not very thing, economically it is very expensive. On one hand, cement, you talk of anywhere between 500 rupees to 1500 rupees for disposal. Waste to energy needs 4,400 to 5,000 rupees per disposal. If that is the case, then why is waste to energy? I think it simply boils down to one aspect of it, which is ease of use. As a ULB, I don't need to segregate. I don't need to separate the dry waste and wet waste. And for me, if I don't segregate, the only solution becomes waste to energy, because no cement plant will be able to consume wet waste as is, with the kind of moisture levels, with the kind of smell issues, with the kind of local issues that will come up with it. I think that's one big reason why it is required. And secondly, one of the interesting aspects is one of the ministers for urban development, when I in the state where I visited, said something very interesting. As a ULB, I'm always stuck for funds. But once the moment I convert this to waste to energy, then it becomes a discom's problem, because discom anyway is dealing with lakhs of crores of funds. This small 100, 200 crores in each state does not impact. So I think one of the reasons waste to energy in India is prospering is because of the fund situation and the onus of compliance moving from the ULBs, which are the wage generators, which should actually own the responsibility of it, to the power companies or power discoms. I think that's broadly what I had to put in terms of that perspective. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Next, I invite Mr. Takio Nakakawa, Director, Technical and Project Division, Nippon Koi Private Limited, to speak on unlocking the potential of biosolids.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Nakagawa. It's a great honor to talk about our experiences in Japan. We are from Japanese-based engineering and development consultant, and then we have a Indian subsidiary here. So that's why today to give a little bit of different taste as a Japanese case for the references to sludge management, or particularly for circular economy. I just like to start with the evolution of political focus on sludge management in Japan. During 1960 and then 70s, we experienced a high growth, resulting in the rapid increase in sludge, obviously, led by rapid urbanization. So at that time, incineration was introduced to particularly try to reduce the volume of increased sludge. Then, next decade, 1980 to 1990, we kind of facing stabilization and recycle focus period comes or came. So in this period, we focus on composting, particularly agricultural green spaces. This began. Then construction material like cementings and then all these previous speaker covers, all these recycling things started in this 1980 and then 1990. Then followed by 2000 2010, more like a resource and energy recovery. This focus is emerging, particularly like thermal recycling and then energy utilization. All these ideas came up. Then digester gas, biogas, and power generation and solid fuel. All these also started momentum during this period. Then obviously phosphorus recovery, this is also one of the important things. Also, these research also accelerated. Then finally, recent shift is in the contemporary policy, particularly focusing on maximizing fertilizer use from the point of self-sufficiency. So Japan also now facing sort of decrease in the population things. So all those energy self-sufficiency, all these are the getting very important issues. So referring to policy change or evolution, the current scenario of sludge reuse in Japan is like this. So governing law is Sewerage Act. Actually, it was enacted in 1958, a bit old, but then amended in 1996 and then 2015, reflecting the policy changes. And then utilization of sludge, almost half, 50% is used for construction materials. And then fertilizer or greenery usage is 10, 15%. And then fuel miscellaneous follows like that. So characteristics again, we started from reducing the sludge volume. So this is quite a strong area. And then the recent new policy emphasis is biosolid for fertilizer usage. So these are the current characteristics. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points listed. Some are already talked, but the point is co-creation or collaboration, or in Indian term like convergence among the municipality, local ULB, and then private sector, and in particular agriculture sector. I'm going to talk about in a minute. These are the quite, I think, striking characteristics in Japan. Then when it comes to main use of the recycling and the reuse method, those three, I think this is already known to you. Agriculture use is obviously a fertilizer, and then energy recovery is also well, like biomass or thermal or energy. These all are considered green. And then landscaping, green spaces, all these three major utilization for the reuse and then recycle, all the sludge. So let me give you a more concrete example. This is a case of one city called Saga, located in the west part of Japan in Kyushu Island. And this city, in 2009, this sludge composting plant was actually established. And then thereby, they introduced a bit of technical terms like hyperthermophilic aerobic composting technology with YM bacteria. Using this technology introduced, then from sludge to produce to compost, these exercises were ongoing. Well, as the picture down there, well, shows that, well, all the sludges or compost are brought, and the dewatering, after several steps, then compost will be produced, and then, well, shipped to the surrounding local farmers. So these are the bit of pictures to give you more clear image about it. Then left-hand side up left is a composting plant overview. And then compost production by introducing that method with the very high temperature fermentation, and then composting production is ongoing. And then as a result, particularly sludge, all these odor is becoming issues, but odorless, and then, well, well, this looks like soil, so which can be well, easily to be adopted by local farmers. So local farmers, as you can see, sorry, this is a bit, and some words are Japanese, but faces of local farmers producing like asparagus or paddy rice or onions, and then crops showed better taste, plant immunity enhanced, and then quality quantity get better, and then also some sort of economic things also can be benefited. So these are the more image of Japanese field. Apply this compost produced from sludge. Then paddy, and then other field crops, and then even like organic produced the rice is kind of branded like this. So, well, when we look at a bit of economics of this composting plant, so a scenario, this is the preliminary exercises, as these financial data is kind of difficult to actually obtain. But as our preliminary analysis, the sludge produced or compost produced, and then annual or selling, this is also, of course, assumption, and then operating cost deducted and net profit per year. And then we calculate like accumulate of 11 years is around in Indian rupee sense, one like 46 million Indian rupees. And then we also consider initial investment, capital investment, when it was invested in 2009, and then also, or after the consideration of the depreciation, then 11th year's value becomes 100, like a little bit slightly lower than 140 million Indian rupee. So it means that as a result of this, well, preliminary examination, like this investment can, well, be like surpass the break-even point at the 11th year. So this is more like a concluding slide. by converting waste into material, as I said, construction material or fuel, obviously carbon footprint of disposal will be lowered, and then resource loop is closed. So partially, of course, we are in Japan. We are realizing it, and then fertilizer from sludge offer low cost nutrient supply, and then also promote local agriculture, as I show the farmers face. Then it reduces reliance on imported fertilizer. In India, 38 million tons of chemical fertilizer is produced. So some part we can, I think, replace with this. Uh, yes. Then just a little bit talk about ourselves. We as a Nippon Koei and the Nippon Koei India help Ministry of Jal Shakti under the initiative of Japan International Cooperation Agency, and then we drafted up guideline for sludge management for entire India. So now our cooperation period is almost ending. 2026 will be the end, and then almost this guideline will be drafted in the final under the final review, and it almost point for to be being approved. So let's hope this guideline will be distributed to all over the ULB in all over the India, and then we contribute to the circular economy, particularly closing loop for resource into just a compost into the resources for the economy. So thank you so much. It will be appreciated to connect us. Yes. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you, sir, and arigato, Nagasan. I now invite Shri Arun Mahesh Babu, Commissioner, Vadodara Municipal Corporation, to share city-level experiences on scaling circularity in cities, policy to practice.
Very good morning to all of you. My respects goes to the both the senior ministers who've just graced us. For us, sir is a senior in our cadre as well as now the minister in Uttar Pradesh, and to respected sir. It's always been a pleasure to work under you, even in the power sector and now in the urban sector. And my thanks goes to Rupa ma'am for inviting us and giving this opportunity to represent the state of Gujarat out here. Uh, a very interesting presentation just from the Japanese side. So we wish we could also work and collaborate together very soon. Thank you. Uh, for this, I would be representing the use cases because the topics given to me was from policy to practice. So how the implementation strategies from the Ministry of Urban Department in Government of India, as well as how we work in Gujarat. So I would be just bringing in certain examples of how things are put to practice and how a few policy tweaks can help us leverage the problems that we face in the processing and disposal and consumption. The first is, I would just say, why is the need for clarity? Second is the scenario of solid and liquid waste in Gujarat. What are the policy recommendations and how we are scaling up our works in our industrial policies, and how we can scale it up in other states or probably with the central government. You all know that the need for circularity is the need of the hour. But what is presently happening is a linear arrangement that has been engaged all over the country and all over the world. So the globally accepted phenomenon is a circular economy. What Gujarat aspires to do is also go one step ahead of being aspirational by refurbishing, remanufacturing, and repair, and co-embedding this with the circularity. So we go from the traditional take, make, dispose model, which is a very unsustainable model, to a more circular and sustainable model. This is just a screenshot scenario of the total solid waste generation that is taking per day. So that's about approximately 10,000 tons per day, and we are processing close to about 90%. So the processing gap is about 1,050 TPD. That's about 10% is the processing gap in terms of solid waste. And in terms of liquid waste, the generation is close to about 4,500, the latest figures. And we treat about 90% of liquid waste in Gujarat. So the treated waste reuse, which is pending, is a gap of about 7 to 8%, which is about 1,200 MLDs per day. So what are the current policy initiatives in Gujarat that has helped us push things ahead? The first thing is for the waste to compost, we go by the Gujarat Solid Waste Management Policy of 2018, where we also give a huge grant for setting up composting plants and also provide the forward market linkages. For the waste to energy plants, many states go by the power sector and the urban department, but we have three different policies which can be etched into one. First is we give a huge incentive of about 75 percentage to non-profit institutions and about 50% profit as incentive to profit-making incentives for under the Gujarat biogas program, which is one of the most advanced programs in under the new bioethanol policies and the global bio program in which India, Brazil, and all are signatories. Second is we also provide capital expenditure subsidies of about 25%, about up to 200 crores, and an OPEX subsidy, an interest subsidy, and an electricity duty exemption, which is most required to offtake waste to energy plants under the biotechnology policy of 2022. And third is the Atmanirbhar policy of 2022, where we also provide subsidies for transport and institutional procurement of machinery. This is one example where which we want to say about what Surat Municipal Corporation is doing. This is the Agriculture Produce Market Committee Bio CNG plant, where the daily feedstock is about 50 tons per day from the vegetable market waste, and we have a contractual agreement between the operator as well as the APMC feedstock. So the operational cost is about 6 lakhs per month, but the revenue generated is about 14 lakhs per month. And the initial capital investment of 8 crores, we have already recovered about 60% of what has been installed. The second thing is it also provides a higher incentive because it is a PPP model where the industry also gets into the job. So second thing, it provides a forward linkage for processing. This is the second example is the Banaskantha dairy, which is the Banas dairy, which is a quite popular one, where about 40 tons of organic waste is collected from 150 farmers across 6 villages. The good part is about 4 crore kilogram of dung is processed. So that's about 1 crore kilogram of cow dung that has been processed in a year. We procure it at a rate of 1 rupee per kg, and about approximately 3 lakh women, self-help and farmers benefit from this. So, and bio gas, you look at the cost, it's 72 rupees per kg, which is much lesser than what is available in probably Delhi or any other city. So this is how the incentive program works, and it is a complete circularity program. What are the policy recommendations from Gujarat that we are implementing? We are trying to go with the tax and fine on dumping of wet waste in landfills, as one of the esteemed guests spoke about how it is done in the UK. So we are also adopting a similar model of the UK, Germany, and Korean model. And we are also trying to relax environmental clearances for setting up waste processing plants. So for the EC clearances, we go for one step ahead. And third, we are also tying up with chemical fertilizer plants in which Gujarat has GSFC. So we are trying up with them. So more of a tax regime and more of a fine regime would also help in getting this. Third is this is one of those example where Gujarat is in every city we are trying to invest in reverse vending machines, bottle reverse vending machines. This is for the city of Vadodara, where we've been involved. About 2.24 lakh bottles have been recycled till date. And second is making all the tourist destinations, something like the Statue of Unity in Kevadia, the Kutch Run of Kutch, Dhorro, and all going plastic free. We've processed about 760 tons of plastic waste, even in the recent Ambaji temple, where a huge Padyatra happens, and it has been almost plastic free. So what is the process that has been taken up from 1998 till 24? We've all have gone through a long procedure, but ban on single-use plastic is the biggest challenge that still remains in the country. I think inspection, notice, fine, and that is the only thing that works when you go for managing single-use plastics. And also, incentivizing manufacturers of disposable products, which I think, ma'am, Government of India has to slightly push ahead by incentivizing people who produce biodegradable stuff and go on heavy taxation and fines on people who are producing single-use plastics. Also, in incentivizing industrial units which are located within 100 km from any RDF consuming plant and giving them, a rebate or a tariff rebate in terms of production can also help. One of the recommendations that has come from Gujarat is give financial incentive to promote recycle and reuse performance, go for landfill tax, and tie up with the manufacturers and cement kins, which one of, I think, Dalmia Cement also spoke. So we're trying to do that with Ambuja Cements in Amreli and other places. This is one example of Bhavnagar, where people were incentivized to collect plastic bottles fill the plastic bottles with single-use plastic, and then you can just see an example of how the tree was covered in that area. So every gram panchayat was paid money for collecting plastic, and then everybody was paid money because in Gujarat it works on a monetary model where you incentivize people through money, the system starts working. So we're doing this on a massive scale in the panchayats and coming up in the cities. So every instead of going for cement, concrete or cement constructions, we go for the plastic things right now. This is one of the most credible platinum rated waste to energy plants, which is the Jamnagar waste to energy plant, which is a model from Avalon Clean Energy. But now this is one of those successful models that's working in the country. I would request people to just visit this and take it ahead. For inert waste, I know there's a lot of discussions going on. I will not get into this, but we will just show you how things can be made ahead. In C&D waste in Ahmedabad, Surat, and Vadodara, we go for aggregates and collection of these together. So that's how we are pushing it. Already the National Highway Authority spoke about it. So what AMC does is we're processing about 300 tons per day. We have got about 22 pickup zones in the city, and then it is being processed. Until now, we have got collecting about 160 rupees per metric ton. We pay to those collection agents and then process the C&D waste. This is the Dholera Ahmedabad Express Highway, which is spoken about earlier. Dholera is an upcoming smart city where the entire area is a low-lying area. It is about 4 feet below the sea level, but the entire area has been raised by dumping municipal waste, solid waste, and these highways are made out of elevating those areas. So we are able to clear about 4,000 tons of municipal solid waste of Ahmedabad and nearby cities. You can see the Pirana dump, which is being cleared, and the highways being built. So we are also trying to take a cue from Japan, Germany, and Korea, and we also try to implement 80% of wastewater utilization on consumption from existing reuse policies. So we also give incentives to industrial development corporations and industrial parks for consuming reused water. Ahmedabad, Vadodara, Surat, and Rajkot lead the job in this. So what are the future course of action? Creating PPP business models for STPs and reuse of treated wastewater, and also using thermal power plants where all the thermal power plants, the water which needs to be used for cooling can be taken from reused water. This is the model from Surat, where Bamroli, Dindoli, and Bamroli sewage water plants and water treatment plants, 115 million liters of fresh water is being saved per day, because this is a model where it has been highly monetized using a dual financial incentive and sustainable water cycle. So we give incentives from the Gujarat industrial policy, where the industrial parks and firms are always asked to recycle and reaffirm with the state of action and the codes of actions. So these are two examples where we can adopt. One is from Hadberg in Austria. We have adopted this model. And second is from Ulsan, which is from the Republic of Korea, where we are going for eco-industrial parks. So from now on, in Gujarat, all the industrial parks and GIDCs are going for eco-industrial parks, where the industrial park is also having a plug-and-play model, whereas the entire cycling ETP, STP, WTP model is embedded into ecological parks rather than just industrial units. I'll just be finishing in 1 minute. So what is the future is integrate circular economy into the core industrial policy. So we have a circular economy action plan which is being implemented along with the circular Gujarat framework, which is also in tandem with the Viksit Gujarat 2047 model. Second is develop eco-industrial parks and industrial symbiosis models. And third is a dedicated circular financing instrument. So that is where the finance and PPP financing models come up. So I would just like to conclude by saying that urban planning, industrial ecosystems, and agriculture and water systems, all the three have to coexist. And how do you promote these focus areas? Is like you promote recycling industries, promote PPP models, have a robust market ecosystem, and digitize this data onto a same platform. So which seems to be the future. So what is the future in Gujarat that we're dying is as a cluster-based approach. We're going for material recovery parks and industrial recycling clusters all around Ahmedabad, Surat, Vadodara, Rajkot, and the industrial things. The Industrial Exchange Bureau goes and collects the data, collates the data, and feeds it to the Central Pollution Control Board and the GPCBs. And we have water use policies, which is being implemented in industries in Dahej, Hasira, and such in clusters. And finally, when coming to urban local body, Ahmedabad, Surat have been implementing the waste to energy plants apart from Jamnagar. And Surat's 40 MLD treatment plant is one of the successful models where the Surat Corporation is earning about 40 crores just from recycled water in a single year. So that is that's it from my side and from the state of Gujarat. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We now shift our focus to the financial dimension of circular infrastructure. I invite Ms. Sujata Srikumar, Managing Director, Tech Infrastructure, to share her insights on designing bankable projects for circular infrastructure, financing models, and risk mitigation.
Good morning to the Honorable Ministers, Ms. Rupa Mishra, fellow speakers, and members of the audience. I have the challenging task of spending about 8 to 10 minutes on a topic which is vast, which is financing the circular economy. I'm confining my presentation to two aspects basically. What makes a project bankable and attractive for investors? What are some of the examples of innovative green finance instruments, blended finance approaches in India? Successful bond financing examples, and some sort of innovations which have happened in this space. What is very important to understand is there are two aspects of financing. One is financial viability at the project level itself. The project should generate adequate revenues to to meet its operating costs and its financing costs and depreciation. So it has to meet if it's debt financed, cost of interest, principal repayment over a period of time. If there's an equity component, yes, equity returns have to be generated for the investor. The other aspect is bankability. In a lot of infrastructure projects, the projects per se are not viable. We've seen examples from the speakers before me where the Municipal Commissioner of Vadodara spoke over the schemes in Gujarat where various subsidies are offered, how to improve the bankability. So, which means either you reduce the capital cost, you offer subventions on the operating costs, or you offer other things like offtake support. So, multiple models are being used in the PPP whether it is through PPP models or otherwise to improve the bankability of projects. At a very basic ULB level, uh, it is very important for ULBs to understand that as far as possible, improve the revenue profile of the project and only narrow the gap which needs to be met through subsidies, etc., etc. Traditionally, ULPs have worked on an EPC model, and that model has sort of led to a huge amount of subsidies. So I think the focus at the ULP level for all projects needs to shift to revenue generation. And only then, if the ULP is executing the project, borrow what is needed. If you're giving out to the private sector through a PPP model, again, there is no free lunch. You may defer the payment, but you still have to pay. So if you make the project more viable, more bankable by ensuring adequate revenues are generated, to that extent, the burden of the ULP for dealing with, wastewater, municipal solid waste is reduced. I hear an echo. Is it disturbing all of you, or should I move? Is it okay? I just have a few examples given paucity of time. The first green bonds in the country were issued by Ghaziabad Municipal Corporation before the guidelines came out for green municipal bonds from SEBI. This was a very innovative wastewater reuse project where the tertiary treated water was to be supplied to industrial users in the Saibabad industrial area. Then later, Ahmedabad, Pimpri Chinchwad, etc., also came out with green municipal bonds. Uh, Another innovation has been international certification of the green bonds issued by Vadodara Municipal Corporation and more recently by just I think 2 weeks ago by Surat Municipal Corporation. Another innovation in this space again has been public issuance of municipal bonds where public can participate, invest in such instruments. This has been done first by Indore, followed by recently by Surat. Historically, the first municipal bond issued by Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation was a public issue. The citizens of Ahmedabad participated in the bond issue and made it a huge success. Like I was mentioning, combining grants from government schemes with term loans, bonds, PPP approaches are the way how you can make financing feasible for various projects. Risk mitigation approaches include either having credible counterparties like Mahagenco in the Nagpur, municipal SDP project for reuse of wastewater, or Indian Oil Corporation for an NMCG project in Mathura. For all these large, whether be it power plants, be it, industrial consumers like Indian Oil Corporation, etc., the quantum of water costs in their overall operating bill is very low. Therefore, it makes sense to ask them to, reuse wastewater and to support the viability of these projects. It is only in instances where you don't have a large, uh, credible off-taker with capacity to pay that financing for these projects becomes a little difficult. So, in which case, you may look at models like, whether we just do tertiary treatment of wastewater and supply to agriculture with appropriate, checks in terms of standards, etc. That is a call cities need to take, whether they go to complete tertiary treatment to supply to industry where it is viable. Where it is not viable, at least do secondary treatment to standards demanded by the pollution control boards. One more example of this, which is a project under development, similar to the model I mentioned earlier, is supply of treated wastewater from an STP by Greater Vishakhapatnam Municipal Corporation to NTPC Green. Wherever there are large, credible off-takers, this model will work. So as a country, we need to do as much of these models as feasible and then look at how to finance the next round of projects. The other example is, of course, the Satat scheme where subsidies are offered in terms of capital costs. In some cases, there are off-take guarantees provided, etc. Also in other arrangements. Like I mentioned, I'm discussing two examples, one of Ghaziabad and one of Surat Municipal Corporation. Green bonds are bonds issued to finance projects exclusively which are considered green. The country has issued about 8 billion of green bonds since January 2018, which is, of course, just about 0.7% of the bonds issued in the Indian financial market. Ghaziabad Nagar Nigam was the first ULB to launch green municipal bonds in 2021. What is important to note is that internationally, green bonds get a greenium. That means they attract lower interest rates compared to regular bonds. In the Indian context, the market is still very new, so there's hardly any greenium and not much difference between, a green bond, a green municipal bond, and a regular municipal bond. The only difference we have seen in the case of the certified green bond issued by Vadodara Municipal Corporation, the demand was huge and the oversubscription was very, very high. In the case of Ghaziabad Municipal Corporation, two innovations were done. One was it's about a 260 odd crore project, of which the city decided to do 150 crores of borrowing through green municipal bonds. Municipal bonds first, and then the labeling as green came about later. And at that point, decided that the balance funding would come through internal accruals. This was a project which did not have any subsidy from any government scheme. It was completely funded by the ULB. So city went ahead, issued bonds, they entered an MOU with the industrial users and Cyberabad Industries for offtake of the treated water. Based on this, they decided to go ahead with the capital expenditure and came out with the issuance of municipal bonds. Since this project is of a revenue generating nature, it actually helps the city in repaying over a period of time. The initial approach of how the project was structured was to give comfort to investors in the bond issue. Property taxes and some transfers from the UL and from the state government of Uttar Pradesh were ring fenced in an escrow arrangement to provide security and comfort to investors. But it is expected that since the entire project has been designed to be viable with offtake by industrial users and levy of appropriate user charges, over a period of time, Ghaziabad Municipal Corporation will definitely recover the interest it has paid on financing this the 150 crore municipal bond, as well as they give it the capacity to repay over a period of time. Another important innovation in this project was instead of putting in 70, 80, or 100 odd crores itself through internal accruals, Ghaziabad Municipal Corporation decided to go for a PPP arrangement where BA Tech Wabag was selected as the bidder through a hybrid annuity model. The only flip side of the hybrid annuity model is the financing cost. If you look at NMCG funded projects, because the hybrid annuity payments are coming from Government of India, the costs are much cheaper than if a ULB were to go ahead and to make the annuity payments. Another example I want to give, since I think I'm running out of time. In the case of Surat Municipal Corporation, 2 weeks ago, they came out with certified green municipal bonds. Since the focus of this workshop is on, municipal solid waste and reuse of wastewater, Surat Municipal Corporation used part of the proceeds of the bonds to finance a dry and wet waste processing facility. If you look at this project for Surat, approximate project cost was about 400 odd crores. Large part of it came through grants. Government of India grants through Swachh Bharat Mission, Central Finance Commission grants, and also Swarnam Mukhyamantri Yojana for Shahri Vikas Yojana in Gujarat. So it's a large portion of subsidy. Out of the 400 odd crores of project costs, only 75 crores have been funded through municipal bonds through borrowing by the ULB. So this is an example where you've used other models, the grants plus Surat has, escrowed its property taxes to to provide security to bond investors and to support repayment. So this is not an example of great viability, unlike the Ghaziabad model. Not to say that some of these material recovery facilities, etc., there are examples where only the ULB has provided land and it is, the rest of the project is done by the private player. I'm not going to the rest of the details since we're running out of time. Broadly speaking, other approaches to improving viability could be the use of carbon credits. We have seen the example of Indore, which Jenny got some 50 lakhs out for its compare biogas project, for which it earned about 50 lakhs through international carbon credit sales. Uh, Others, we could look at aspects like global climate funds, etc. At this stage, the project development aspects to enable ULBs to access these funds needs to be looked into, because most ULB projects, uh, the way their DPR is prepared or the way the project is prepared may not meet international requirements. We've seen that even in the case of Surat, etc., where lot of the requirements of international certification agencies or international climate funds we do not address at the DPR stage. So maybe there's need for capacity building, how to enable cities to access global funds and also get internationally certified. Thank you. I think I'll stop at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, we move to the people's dimension, because no circular transition is complete without community ownership and behavioral change. I now invite Sri Akshay Raut, former Director General, Swachh Bharat Mission Grameen, to speak on people for circular economy. Please welcome him with a huge round of applause.
Good morning, honorable ministers and all friends in the room. Congratulations to the ministry and the mission for thinking of initiating this conclave, which couldn't have come one day later. It's important and it's urgent. Okay, I think the title of my presentation says it all. It may sound like a bit of counterpoint, it is not actually. Whenever there is a problem of waste management, immediately the eye goes on the policy and the regulators. Fair enough. It's important to put the blame where it lies mostly. But I think the largest elephant in the largest open space are the people, us. Nothing can happen, nothing can move if people don't touch and feel and they don't act. Supreme Court recently, last week, told the regulators bring me an action plan on pollution control. I would talk about what is the People's Charter. Perhaps the court should have asked for it. So the culture, the behavior of waste management, overall cleanliness, that's most important for any circularity practices. Do we reduce, reuse, recycle, or do we dump, reduce, and reuse by saying these are impractical Gandhian ideals? Recycle we must. We have been talking about recycling for the last 2 days and today much more. But do we, as a people, the mission director was mentioning about 300 million, 400 million. We are going to, by the time of 100 years, we are going to be the double of it. Are these people reducing, reusing, recycling? Prime Minister has launched lifestyle for environment. It's picking up in other countries. There is scientific evidence of how much CO2 emission it saves. towards net zero. But are we, the urban population, are we doing lifestyle for environment ourselves? We have Prime Minister, Honorable Mr. Narendra Modi, who has been talking about all the places of faith and pilgrimage, how they have been infested with dirt which is not cleared. He has expressed anxiety. And we have Minister Mr. Sarma from Uttar Pradesh. He knows how in Mahakumbh it was handled, how in Amarnath it is handled. It's a story. Ambaji was mentioned by Arun, the commissioner from Surat. So, if people who have the footfall, if they decide it can be a clean and glorious trail, otherwise it can be a dirty trail. Even in Man Ki Baat, Prime Minister mentioned in Bangalore, some engineer and friends, they have cleaned up wells, they have cleaned up the surrounding, they did it. So it is a determined and awake community who are the surest way to waste management and circularity. And that cannot be overlooked. I'll just, for example, just see the literacy among ourselves and the consciousness. I saw a great concept note on interventions that we require for waste management circularity. Regulatory fine, financial fine, infrastructure great, and digital. I did not find a social and people's intervention in that. I am a little disappointed on that, but I'm sure all of us, it's a great technical story that is going to happen. It's without technology, it cannot happen, but it's a social case as well. It is a social case as well. We have seen examples in our own little country. Green revolution, go back. Total literacy movement, go back. Voters turnout in the last 15 years of more registration and turnout with which I was involved. The Ganga cleanup, and a part of us is the toilet usage in the last 10, 15 years. These have happened, these are reality and given dividends to India and to its people because people have led it. Because people have led it. I wish I had time to elaborate on this. So, in whatever we are doing, we have assembled, there are not too many asks, few asks. Do I own my city and my town as I own my home? Do I segregate whatever I create waste? I don't. Again, I am finding the littering is back compared to say many years back. We don't litter or let others litter. Do we do that? Have we given up plastic? Do we practice this simple thing of home composting? And there are a few other things which my friends who are used to how circularity is to be attained, they will mention. We don't. Adopt RRR, I just mentioned it. Adopt lifestyle change for the sake of waste management or circularity or overall cleanliness or preserving the environment, that has to go together with policy. There has to be synergy. Otherwise, no. Okay, which are the two triggers? I find that the two triggers, one is profit. Either I have a sense of profit, what I get out of it, what I act, I am being blunt. Or I know that it's a great and feasible cause for which it is a credible cause for which I should work. I'll come to the first thing first. We had some incentive money in the access to toilets that we worked on in the first 5-6 years of Swachh Bharat mission. Do we have something like that in the waste management at the household level? Even the managers who worked on all, they were having the glamour of having a brand association. Brand was quite great, which Prime Minister initiated. There were recognitions, awards. Do we have that in waste management now? Or do we need to do a little more? Prime Minister, again last week, 10 days back, he mentioned about Ambikapur Municipal Corporation. If the commissioner is there, I'll need to congratulate about plastic waste being converted to a meal, breakfast or dinner or lunch. So, Arun was mentioning that some amount of penalty and disincentive might work, or at least incentives have to go up reasonably well. The talk has started that should we have soft penalties on litter, those who litter? Do we have some charges for the ULB which are resource constrained to pick up the waste? We have to rework the incentive disincentive system. It cannot be like what it is now. So this is profit. The other thing is, people should not be left in a sense of helplessness. That's what we are. That's how it is. Like in pollution in NCR, we many times talk about, okay, we are like this. Will the garbage be picked up? Will the waste remain segregated when I segregate and give it to the municipal truck? Will the garbage be at all processed? Will there be not a heap again next door, little away? So, behavior change also doesn't come that cheap. Unless you tie up the supply ends that people have reason to believe that they are working for a cause that is credible, feasible, and is going to happen, they will not join in. So, that this is the change of the possible, that what we are doing as a mission is possible, people must have a sense when they join. Campaign is just one part. Sometimes we overemphasize campaign. Citizen engagement is a much broader thing, which I mentioned, profit and cause. We have successful campaign because we believe in the power of the nudge. The nudge, the campaign brings people towards the center, towards the objective. We had a malaria campaign, false polio campaign, HIV/AIDS, and sweep, systematic voters education and electoral participation, which has given results. 5-10% voting and registration have gone up. In Swachh Bharat Mission, we had children moving in processions in Bihar saying, Mujhe Shaushalay chahiye. We had a Dalberg study which says that during the Swachh Bharat Mission's initial 5 years, there was this much of exposure of eyeballs to something which was relating to Swachh Bharat. We had good turnout on Ek Ghanta Ek Saath. We had Swachhata Hi Seva campaign, but those are flash in the pan. They are great. We had achieved good numbers, but those are models which can be replicated every day and every month, every year. We had Ek Ped Maa Ki Naam. So these are campaigns which nudge people. But so the takeaway is that we cannot stop. We have to communicate, communicate, and communicate. The other thing is that we must keep the advocates glued onto us. We must have the political leadership that I think they are with us, but we must keep exciting them. One of the reasons for the success of Swachh Bharat Mission is that the Prime Minister has been the communicator in chief. In fact, in the earlier situation, when he gave a clarion call, the gas subsidy was given up. So the inspiration works because inspiration is a special nudge. PM by laying a brick and constructing a toilet, or by sitting with the in Mathura with waste segregators with women to separate the plastic from non-plastic, is not going to change the world, but it is setting a path of inspiration, and that works. So we must have that always happening. Brooms in hand, getting into toilet feet and beach cleaning and plugging. These are things which are inspirational. So my suggestions are nothing much different than just perhaps intensification of few things which we know and something which are dynamically evolved in the last 2 days. We must reward incentives, disincentives as household and other waste sources. We must make the cause credible and process efficiency must be brought in. This 72 towns is nothing. Clean cities. One Indore, everyone in India to refer to is nothing. When we have quickly 720 cities and towns in 750 districts so that people know that, okay, this can happen. We must optimize citizen engagement. Why not every day, every city that is suffering from waste mismanagement? Why cannot people work on every day? Why they have to wait for Society Seva? Why not every day something can happen like this? Campaigns every day, every morning. Why can't community congregate? And then we must keep our leadership glued to our agenda. We must be selfish on this particular purpose. This is our need, and we must have the leaders glued to it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I now have the privilege of inviting Sri Bhojraj Raiji, Honorable Minister of Urban Development, Government of Sikkim, to kindly deliver his co-chair remarks. Please welcome him with a huge round of applause.
सारे के सारे सोए हुए देख रहे हैं क्यों है क्या I am not migrated from China. I am born and brought in India. सिक्किम। मेरा तकलीफ, मेरा दुख किसी को कहना नहीं, क्योंकि उसके ऊपर कोई सुनेगा तो उसका एडवांटेज लेता है। तो हम यहाँ बात कर रहे हैं कचरे की। तो संसार में कौन से देश कहाँ से कहाँ पहुंच गए, हम कचरे में ही हैं। फिर भी आज हम यहाँ है, ऑनरेबल मिनिस्टर अर्बन डिपार्टमेंट उत्तर प्रदेश, रूपा मैडम एंड ऑल डिग्नेटरीज, आप सब के साथ मैं मेरा संभाषण हिंदी में रखना चाहता हूँ। मैं सीखना भी चाहता हूँ। हिंदुस्तानी होने के नाते हिंदी में बोलना, हिंदी में सीखना ये जरूरी भी है। और हिंदी में बोल के मेरा थोड़ा बिगड़ा हुआ चीज किसी को दिखाना भी नहीं है, हमको समझ लेना चाहिए। किसी को क्यों दिखाना, है ना? इसीलिए मैंने जैसे बोला, हम कहाँ से कहाँ पहुंच रहा है, हम बस यही यही धूल मिट्टी में ही हूं। हमारा समय इतना बर्बाद कर रहा, हम किसके लिए? कचरे के लिए। बात तो करना था एआई का, लेकिन हम यहाँ कॉन्फ्रेंस कर रहे हैं कचरे के लिए। किसने जमा किया है कचरे? लंदन से तो नहीं भेजा है, अमेरिका से तो नहीं भेजा है, ये तो हमने ही निकाला है कचरा। बस फर्क इतना ही पड़ गया कि हमने इसको सही ढंग से इसको रखा नहीं, ज्यादा निकाल दिया और जिम्मेवारी नहीं लिया। ये जिम्मेवारी ना लेने के कारण इतना इतना कॉन्फ्रेंस हो रहा है हमारा नेशनल लेवल में। तो फिर भी जो है, हम है, हमारे है। हम इंडिया बहुत अच्छा देश, बहुत अच्छा देश में हूँ। हमारे यहाँ क्या नहीं है? हिमालय भी है, ठंडे में इतना ठंड है, जीरो भी जाता है। गर्म इतना गर्म है, क्या बोले, खप नहीं सकते। फ्लोरा है, फोना है, झरना है, नदी है, सागर है, क्या नहीं है हमारे पास? सब कुछ है, बस हमारा दिमाग नहीं है। बस इसको हम यूज करने के लिए हमारा दिमाग नहीं है, और हम इसका संपत्ति मान नहीं रहे। ये सब हमारा संपत्ति है, तो इसको हम संपत्ति मान के आगे बढ़ेगा तो हमारा पैसा ही पैसा है। हम जीने के लिए कितना सस्ता है इंडिया में, सुनिए तो। हम करोड़ रुपए कमा के हम एक रात हम 50 रुपए का डिनर खा के सो जाएंगे, वो भी हो जाता है। लेकिन विदेश में कहाँ ऐसा मिलता है मौका? छोटा हो या बड़े हो, उतना ही रुपया का खाना लेना पड़ता है। इंडिया में हम सिंगड़ा लेंगे 5 से 10 रुपए का लगेगा, लंदन में खा जाके सिंगड़ा लगेगा तो फिर वो 500 रुपये लगेगा, है कि नहीं? हमारा लिविंग स्टैंडर्ड कितना अच्छा है। हर लोग हर जगह हर तरह से जी सकते हैं। तो हम बात करते हैं ये वेस्ट मटेरियल को हम इकोनॉमी में कन्वर्ट करें। हम भारत का सबसे छोटा देश, छोटा राज्य से आए हैं। छोटे मुंह बड़े बात हो जाएगा। सबसे छोटा हमारे यहाँ ऐसा ये कचरे को ऊपर लेकर हमारा कोई रेवेन्यू जनरेट नहीं हो सकता है, क्योंकि हमारे पास उतना ज्यादा कचरे नहीं जमा होता है। और इसके अलावा हमने क्या किया है, सिक्किम गवर्नमेंट ने, जब हम सत्ता में आ गया, हमारा गवर्नमेंट सत्ता में आ गया, तो हमने इस कचरे के ऊपर में पूरा पाबंदी लगा दिया, कचरे को कैसे कम करें। वैसे तो वेस्ट ये वेट वेस्ट जो होता है वो तो हम सब कंपोस्ट में ही लगा लेते हैं, कंपोस्ट में काम लगाते हैं, वो कम निकलते हैं। और दूसरा क्या है कि हर घर का सामने हर घर का आदमी ही सफा करना पड़ता है। अगर कहीं कचरा देखेगा तो उसको फाइन लगेगा, वो घर वाले को फाइन लगेगा। ये बात है। गुटखा खाना बंद, पाबंदी है। कहीं आसपास बाजार में कोई थूक लेगा तो उसको 500 रुपये हत वहीं से हम उसको फाइन कर देंगे। हम कहीं पकड़ लिया, नहीं पकड़ लिया तो उसको वो अच्छा हो गया, वो चला गया। पकड़ लिया तो उसको 500 रुपये हम फाइन कर देंगे। तो थूकना मना है हमारे से। और गाड़ी टैक्सी टैक्सी चलते है, टूरिस्ट को लेकर टैक्सी चलते है, तो ड्राइवर को ये जिम्मेवारी देते हैं कि टूरिस्ट अंदर बैठते ही उसको बोलना कि कुछ खा के बाहर कुछ मत फेंकना, वेस्ट बिन है ये वेस्ट बिन में डालना। तो हर एक गाड़ी में एक वेस्ट बिन होते हैं, तो वो हम नहीं देते। कोई भी चॉकलेट खाते खाने का दिल करता है, बच्चा भी दिल खाता करता है, लेकिन बच्चे को भी ये समझ में है कि वो चॉकलेट खा के उसका छिलका बाहर नहीं फेंकना, वो जेब में रखे घर के डस्टबिन में फेंकना पड़ता है। तो हम क्या कहते हैं कि सबसे पहले तो पब्लिक पार्टिसिपेंट को हम ज्यादा हम महत्व देते हैं, और पब्लिक को हम अवेयरनेस बहुत देते हैं। इसीलिए ये थोड़ा हमारा कम है, इसीलिए ये इकोनॉमी में हम जा नहीं सकते हैं। ये थोड़ा कुछ बचा हुआ ये कचरा को लेकर हम बेच के हम पैसा नहीं कमा सकते हैं। लेकिन आपके पास है, वो आपका रेवेन्यू है, वो आपका संपत्ति है, उसको बेचो, उसको काम में लगाओ और संपत्ति कमाओ। हमारे पास है, किसके पास नहीं है तो वो हमसे जलसी हो रहा है, सही है ना। अगर उसके पास है, मेरे पास भी होता तो बोल के सोच रहा होगा शायद। तो हम ऐसे करते हैं तो हमारा कचरा कम होता है। फिर भी थोड़ा कुछ बचा हुआ था, लेगेसी थोड़ा कुछ था हमारा, तो वो लेगेसी के ऊपर भी हम जब सत्ता में आ गया, सत्ता में आके हम के उसके ऊपर में काम किया, तो इस दिसंबर के महीने पर अंत अंत दिसंबर अंत पे वो जितने भी लेगेसी था वो पूरे के पूरा हम खत्म कर रहा है, देखो भी नहीं रहेगा। इस तरह हमने काम किया है, क्योंकि हम शहरवासियों को सुखद जिंदगी देना चाहते हैं। यू नो, संसार में कौन सा देश, कौन सा राज्य किस सभ्यता में है, उसका शहर देखकर ही बता सकते हैं। बस्ती तो जहां भी जाओ वहां भी वही खेती उबालता है, वहां भी वही खेती उबालता है। आप चाहे इंग्लैंड में जाओ, चाहे अमेरिका जाओ, चाहे भारत का कोई किसी भी राज्य में जाओ, खेती तो खेती ही है। लेकिन शहर का चेहरा अलग अलग होता है। तो वो शहर का चेहरा देखकर उसका सभ्यता का अनुभव हम कर सकते हैं कि इस जगह का आदमी किस हद तक आगे पहुंचा है। तो हमारा ड्यूटी है, हमारा फर्ज है कि अपना शहर साफ रखो, अपना शहर, अपना भारत स्वच्छ भारत रखो, आगे बढ़ो, ये हमारा होना चाहिए। और मैं या साहब, हम तो पॉलिटिशियन है, हम प्योरली टेम्पररी पर्सन, 5 बरस के लिए, 5 बरस हम यहाँ है। मैं तो अगले बार के सोच नहीं रखता हूँ, आएंगे या नहीं आएंगे हम नहीं जानते। मेरे भाग्य में है तो आ जाऊंगा, मेरा भाग्य में है तो जनता मेरे को वोट देगा, मेरा भाग्य में नहीं तो जनता वोट नहीं देगा, मैं भी वैसे वही वही गली में जाऊंगा फिर। तो ये 5 बरस के लिए हम बड़े भी नहीं है। अब आप सबको मैं तो बोलता हूँ, साहब को भी माफी मांगता हूँ कि हम बड़े आदमी नहीं है। बस हमारा हमारे लिए, हम के लिए कि ये मौका मिला है, ये मौका चुकाना नहीं चाहिए। क्या क्या करना है सब कुछ करके चले जाओ, बाद में देखा जाएगा। हम ये मांगते हैं, अभी मौका मिला है मेरे को, जनता ने मेरे को मौका दिया है, वो ये मौका हम चुकाना नहीं चाहते। जो भी करना है अपने राज्य के लिए, देश के लिए, क्या क्या सोचा है वो सब कुछ करके चले जाओ, ताकि बाद में जाके मेरे को ये दुखा ना हो जाए कि ये भी करना चाहिए था। बल्कि ये हमारा ये काम लेकर हम काम कर रहे, आगे बढ़ रहा है, तो कुछ करेंगे आपको भी मैं यही बोलूंगा, ये हमारा गोल्डन अपॉर्चुनिटी, ऑल ऑफ अस वी आर इन अर्बन डिपार्टमेंट, ये हमारा ये अपॉर्चुनिटी है, किसी को ये अपॉर्चुनिटी नहीं मिलता है। रूपा मैम अभी हमारे अर्बन में है, कल हो सकता है वो फाइनेंस में चला जाएगा, तो ये कचरे के ऊपर पे वो बोल नहीं सकता, कुछ भी कर नहीं सकता है। ये इसीलिए हम अर्बन में है, ये हमारा मौका है, ये मौका को नहीं चुकाएंगे। हमारा अपना ताकत दिखाओ, कुछ करने का ये मौका है, मौका ये मौका मत चुकाओ, कुछ करे, साफ करे, अच्छा भारत बनाइए, स्वच्छ भारत बनाएंगे तो अच्छा हो जाएगा। तो आप सबको मैं इतना ही कहना चाहता हूँ कि ना, हम जो है क्या बोले, ऐसा ही होता है, क्योंकि सबको जल्दी है। ऐसे जल्दी जल्दी में एक दिन ऊपर जाना भी जल्दी हो जाता है, सब चले जाता है, हम क्या करें जल्दी जल्दी में। तो मैं इतना ही कहूंगा कि हम यहाँ पर है, कुछ करके चले जाएंगे, मन स्वच्छ रखिए, मन अच्छा रखिए, सबको अच्छा ही मिलेगा, सबको अच्छा ही होगा। और हम दूसरे बार मिलेंगे, आपका आज का शहर कैसा है, उस शहर को अच्छा शहर बना के, स्वच्छ भारत बना के अगले बार फिर मुलाकात करेंगे। आप सबको सलाम, आप सबको नमस्कार, फिर मिलेंगे, धन्यवाद।
Hmm. Okay. आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर. Thank you very much for your valuable perspectives. I now have the privilege to invite Shri Arvind Kumar Sharma, Honorable Minister of Urban Development, Government of Uttar Pradesh, to kindly deliver the chair remarks. Please welcome him with a huge round. Sir, 10 minutes.
10 minutes, more than enough. Ladies and gentlemen, my colleague minister from Sikkim, we have already listened various facets, various aspects of the topic which has been given, and I am very thankful to many of the speakers who have some experts on the respective subject matters. We have all listened to them very carefully, and in such a complex subject, you have made everybody's job very easy. For example, I am honestly telling you, I am Minister for Urban Development in Uttar Pradesh and also Minister for Energy. Both both departments, both activities, both sectors get interlinked here, like waste to energy is a matter relevant for urban sector as well as for the energy sector. So, on many fronts, what you have spoken was a knowledge and input for me as well, because many things are just discussed, not understood properly. I'll come little later on those things. But I want to thank all the participants, all the speakers, guest speakers, and more than anyone else, the organizer of this event and organizer of this seminar, our colleague Rupa Mishra. I thank everybody here. See, if we are talking about Viksit Bharat, if we are talking about developed India, so very rightly my colleague minister has said कि ये चेहरा बनेगा भारत का, यही विकसित भारत का चेहरा बनेगा. And cities obviously are the faces of the countries or the states where they are situated. So obviously we have to keep our face very clean, we have to keep our face very beautiful, and in that direction, management of solid and liquid waste is obviously the most important activity. Cleanliness, cleaning the face and keeping the face clean requires very efficient management of solid waste, which is generated from the urban areas, and also the liquid waste and the associated issues. This is a bad news that we generate so much, or my colleague said that we generate Here also, you also said it is we who generate uh, the whole problem. But it is also a fact that is a bad news that we generate. The good news is that a lot of good work has started happening on this front, on the front of management. In many places, like we have heard the story of Ahmedabad, we have heard the story of Surat. I am starting from there because I have myself started from there. My career as a public policy player started from Gujarat, so I am taking a cue. They have started processing, they have started uh, treating the water and supplying to industry long back, in fact. Surat Municipal Corporation, if I remember correctly, 10 years back they had started treating wastewater and using grey water for industry and all that. Similar things have started happening in many of the municipal corporations of Gujarat. Since I'm minister from UP, now I will come back to UP, and UP also is doing a lot of good things on this front. For example, here only I saw a booklet printed by Rupa Mishra for circulation in this seminar, in this conclave, and it contained the good practices of various states. UP also has been able to push one of its stories in that booklet, and that is from the point of view of waste processing and waste management. For information of the House, why I am saying that things have started happening under leadership of our honorable Chief Prime Minister, under leadership of leaders like our own Chief Minister, and very active involvement, leadership, guidance provided by the Ministry of Urban and Housing Affairs of Government of India. I must give big compliments. In fact, each one of you should clap for the ministry, the kind of pioneering job which they are doing in the for making the country look better. But coming again back to UP, UP started little late on these fronts. For example, I am a citizen also of UP, so I know that before the BJP government, there was no concept of urban management, city management, urban waste management, liquid management. It was just collection of garbage. The best thing which they could do was to just collect from somewhere and put it at somewhere and keep creating legacy waste dump sites. For example, in Lucknow, the capital of UP, we had two dump sites, big dump sites, in fact, smaller ones, maybe others also, but two big dump sites. One was called Khaila, where 7 lakh metric tons of waste was collected, legacy waste, and another was Shiveri, where more than 20 lakh tons of solid waste was collected. For your good information, and for which I can take little credit, is that the 7 lakh tons of Ghaila waste site has been processed completely, and completely that dump site has been cleaned, and a good beautiful park in the name of Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji has been created. It's a site worth visiting right now. Another site which I said, Shivri, where 20 lakh tons were collected, around two-third, more than, in fact, almost three-fourths of that dump site has been cleaned. I have visited that dump site thrice, and in fact, Honorable Minister had given us a task that each one of us should adopt one such dump site. I did so. I could not report in writing, but I did so. I visited that dump site thrice, and for information of the House, out of 20, 15 plus lakh tons have already been processed and already been cleaned, and beautiful park has been created, beautiful uh, office administration building has been created, and also one more good thing has happened is that while we are cleaning and processing the legacy waste, we have also put up 3 plants for daily processing of the waste, which is being generated on a daily basis. So Lucknow city generates around 21 metric tons of waste every day. We have put 3 plants of 700 metric ton capacity, and I can say that Lucknow is today, from the point of view of daily waste, it's a zero waste city, and in next 3-4 months, even the legacy waste will be completely processed. Similar is the story in Agra. Similar is the story in Ghaziabad, Prayagraj, and one more citable example is that out of that whole processing of the waste material, whatever metal is being recovered from the through the MRF process, we are using it very creatively. And whenever you visit Lucknow, I would invite you to visit UP Darshan Park, where each of the symbolic buildings of UP like Taj Mahal, Fatehpur Sikri, Kila, and many such buildings, they have been recreated out of that waste material. And I can swear, I can claim that you will sometime feel that this building created out of this material is better than the real Taj Mahal. इतना इतना बढ़िया बनाया है, इतना सुंदर बनाया है. It's a worth visiting place. Similar is the Atal Prerna Park, from uh, from waste to cleaning the acres of land and then putting it for this thing. In Prayagraj, Honorable Minister has also visited, and many of you mentioned the success story of Prayagraj also. There also, we have cleaned a lot of legacy waste and have created a Miyawaki plantation area, Miyawaki forest also, as well as there also from the metal recovered from that processing of waste, we have created a Shivalaya park. I don't know any of you may not have visited, but whenever you visit Prayag, you must visit Shivalaya park, which is uh, recreation of our 12 Jyotirlingas of Shiva at each place of you have seen, Honorable Minister. So we are beautifully and creatively using all this material which is being recovered from processing of the legacy waste. And we are so the point which I am trying to make is that India has started what we have been hearing and hearing. It's not just a hearsay, but we have moved on actual implementation of these things. Now, there are obviously some challenges. Why we have gathered here, why it is still, if it is a problem and if the problem is being solved, as I said, what then what is the rationale for organizing this seminar? There are gaps. There are gaps, there are challenges, obviously. For example, there are policy level challenges as to the biggest challenge is that while the city administration is looked upon for for dealing with all these crises, all these problems. But there are the generators are in various fields, like waste is generated from homes, waste is generated from office buildings, from commercial complexes, from industrial complexes, from medical complexes. Medical waste is going to be another big challenge for all of us. So all this aggregated becomes the municipal waste. And municipalities, I'm sorry to say, they are not so powerfully empowered to deal with all this. There are agencies, there are departments, there are ministries which are claiming or which are responsible for separately laying down their policies as to how will medical waste be processed, how will medical waste be disposed of, how will industrial waste be treated, how will it be disposed of. But municipality is such a house that everything comes to municipality, and then people ask the municipal administration. So for that purpose, I think Government of India should think on such policy initiative of empowering the urban local bodies. For example, and I'll give you a cue also as to what I want to say. When I became a minister, I came across a big problem of one agency doing something and the other agency coming from behind and undoing the same thing. And it's my own agencies from within the municipal administration only. The road building agency of my own municipal corporation, say you can call it municipal PWD. Municipal PWD will lay down the road, and municipal Jal Nigam will come and dig the road next day. This keeps happening. This keeps happening. Sometimes my own Bijli Vag will come and dig a beautiful road which has been laid very recently. So from we have, I'm giving you an idea also, before the Ministry of Urban Affairs, Government of India comes out with a policy prescription, we have some powers within our municipal laws. And within that framework of law, we can lay down, we can put our foot down that no, without our permission, no Bijli Vibhag will be able to dig this road. Without our permission, no municipal hospital will discharge its medical waste, and if it has to discharge, it has to discharge in this prescribed. We are hereby prescribing the manner in which you can. So, with the municipal framework of law, within the municipal framework of law, you can you can always do that. But I would also request Rupa Misraji to take a note and convey to Honorable Minister that it would be better that Government of India prescribes something for empowering the urban local bodies for these common issues. The second issue, which perhaps we can encourage the urban local bodies to, as was discussed while discussing the financing models also, there are a lot of private public partnership based models whereby we can generate money. In fact, many of our activities themselves can become revenue generating activities. So for that also, yesterday also I said, I requested Honorable Minister that maybe HUDCO or Municipal Finance Development Corporation or many such agencies are there. They can perhaps put their heads together and come out with good good framework for financing our projects and schemes where our municipal administrations are finding it difficult. The third thing which I would like to encourage is that technology is a good enabler. Combination of man and machine is a must if we want to do our tasks efficiently. For example, a a laborer or a cleanliness worker, he has human limitations. He has human limitations of working. He has human limitations in entering a manhole. He has human limitations of uh, working overtime. But machine can do his work. Machine can multiply the results, multiply the outcomes. So we have to be the ministry and all of us put together. We have to think of how to apply machine. And lastly, technology, new technology, the AI based monitoring, artificial intelligence based cameras, camera based monitoring, digital monitoring, and all these facilities, all these technologies have to be used for making or everything which has been discussed. I'm not going to repeat all this, but everything which has been discussed can be the results and the outcomes can be multiplied many times if we deploy proper technologies, proper. Lastly, but not the least, monitoring is very important for a big state like, say, UP, where we have 762 municipal bodies, urban local bodies, without monitoring and without using technology, I cannot monitor them as to which municipality is doing a good job, which municipality is not doing a good job. So we have to adopt and we have to deploy technologies for doing this work, recycling and completing the cycle of waste management, whether it is liquid or solid, is an important issue. In fact, good news came from the cement industry, and that in fact that was an eye opener for me. I didn't know this fact that in say you said 10 years or 20 years, we would not be generating enough waste to feed the cement factories. So it is such a good news for us that we should not worry about our RDF. We should not worry about about a particular segregated material which comes out of municipal solid waste. There are takers. There are buyers for the same thing. It is just a question of linking the two ends. And in fact, again, a good news there is that we have started. Many of the municipal corporations, many of the municipal bodies have already started. For example, the waste generated in Mahakumbh, generally the waste generated in Prayagraj, is sent to Satna in the cement factories of Satna, and it is acceptable to them. They are taking it in good volumes. But there are limitations like the waste compost compost generated from the same processing unit is still not being treated at par with, I mean, being treated favorably with the agriculture uh, department. I would not blame the department, but in agriculture, it is not finding its place. Somehow there is some issue because some people say that there is still metal, there are still metallic items within that compost, so people are not accepting. Some people say that if the marketing linkages are not being laid properly. So, as Rupa said, they are not, if not manure, they are good enhancers. You use the word enhancers. So at least it can be used as enhancer or enricher, and many of you will find a good solution as to how that compost can be made acceptable, even as manure. We have all seen that cow dung or buffalo dung. We have all seen in our villages how was it used in olden times. So while accepting most of your suggestions, while I would say that the ministry, Rupa should compile all these suggestions. They're very good suggestions, and maybe in a summary of them should be circulated to the states. Many states, I'm sure, I can vouch for it. Many of us do not know that there is enough acceptability of our RDF in the cement factories. Within that state, also there may be cement factories which can accept that. Or the Dholera road, which has been, in fact, Dholera I'm very attached to because I had conceptualized that industrial park. So Dholera road has been made out of the waste material which has been generated. So this story, this idea has to percolate to the normal municipality. One more thing I would close by that is that what you have said, uh, you have put some jodi. What jodi you call? Swachh Shahar jodi. So I have been talking about it also, and then Honorable Minister of Urban Development and Housing Affairs, Khattar Sahab, also emphasized on that each big municipal entity has to help the smaller entity because they would not be able to set up their own processing plants. They would not be able to set up their own analysis wing or a cell which can analyze all these financing mechanism, technological aspects of management. So each big corporation, I have been calling it hub and spoke model. One big municipal corporation can adopt five, six, four municipal bodies where from the waste can be also collected and then money can be appropriately distributed among them if it is being earned. With all this, I think we would be able to contribute heavily into making of a developed India. And as I said initially, unless our cities change their face, unless our cities have a better face, people will not be able to call India a developed nation. And it is a huge responsibility on the shoulders of each one of us sitting here and on the shoulders of each one who is working in the urban space. I wish them all the best to be partner in the journey for making India a developed nation. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your insightful reflections. I invite Ms. Rupa Mishra, Joint Secretary and Mission Director, Swachh Bharat Mission
A
Urban.
big round of applause to the chair, co-chair, and all the speakers. 180 minutes. The valedictory session has already started, and here we are. Not a single seat is vacant. Not a single person is dozing. So, great round of applause to all of them. And I call upon India's largest and India's smallest state UD ministers to please join me here on the stage. And I also call upon all the speakers to please line up here on the stage so that our audience can have a one view of everybody who made this session so incredible. So please, all the speakers, please. And I also request my colleagues to please quickly come up and felicitate all the speakers. We'll have a group picture. So from policy to landfill tax to financing to people to technology to partners to industry, we've tried to cover it all. Unfortunately, given the time constraint, we are not able to take questions, not able to have an open house discussion. But as Sir was mentioning, this is not just a one event which is going to end with this. As Honorable Minister mentioned yesterday, the chapter and the story of urban has begun, and the next few decades will belong to urban. So the conversation will continue, the engagements will continue, and we will keep meeting in different forums. A brief summary of the recommendation of what has been discussed here will be placed now in the valedictory, which has already begun. And thereafter, we will have, of course, the detailed report that will be generated by my team, and we will be sharing it with everyone. And as Honorable Minister mentioned yesterday, we will be going down to different regions to discuss more, to deliberate more, to share and learn from each other. The session would not be complete unless I thank the co-partners of this think tank session, GIZ, UNIDO, India and the World Biogas Association, ADB, and all other partners, and of course my team of NIUA who has made this architecture possible. Thank you one and all, and I request all of you to please immediately proceed to the plenary hall and let us join the valedictory. Thank you, everyone. So,
वो yes, yes. I request everyone to please move towards the valedictory hall, Palash Hall A, 6th floor, for the presentations on the outcome of all breakout sessions and the valedictory session. Thank you and have a wonderful day. I request the IT team to please display the QR code. Dear audience members, all the presentations and speaker bios are available on this QR code. I request you to kindly scan it if you wish to see the presentations and the speaker bios for today's breakout session 6 on circular economy. I request everyone to please start moving towards the valedictory hall, Palash A, on the 6th floor. Mhm. The valedictory session is happening on the 6th floor, Palash Hall A. I request everyone to please start proceeding towards the valedictory hall. All the presentations and speaker bios are available on this QR code displayed on the screen. It has all the speaker bios and the presentations shown today during the breakout session 6 on circular economy.